Germany, April 1945. The world felt like it was collapsing one heartbeat at a time. Walls fell, cities burned, and the air trembled with the weight of endings. Helen Richter, just 26, sat in her cold kitchen, gripping a tin cup, listening to distant artillery that felt like thunder from another life. Her face looked older than her years. War had carved shadows into her skin. Her once bright hair now hung in a simple braid, and her patched dress carried more memories than thread. She sat in the silence of a house that had seen soldiers, wounded men, and too many goodbyes. Her family farm had long been claimed by the war. What was once a home filled with bread, music, and laughter had become a barracks, then a depot, then a hospital. Every corner of the farmhouse held a ghost of what used to be. Helen had buried everyone she loved. Her father's lungs failed him. Her mother's spirit broke before the front ever reached their road. Her brother Friedrich died in Stalingrad. His last letter, worn soft by her hands, was the only trace of him she had left. By April 1945, Helen no longer hoped. She simply waited, uncertain if the next arrival would be liberation or ruin. She felt too tired to fear, too hollow to resist, too alone to imagine a future. The morning the Americans came, she was tending the last surviving chickens. The rumble of engines rolled across the fields, foreign, powerful, unmistakably American. She froze, heart pounding, breath thin. A convoy appeared on her road, olive uniforms and young faces filling her once quiet yard. They walked with a strange looseness, a confidence untouched by the rigid discipline she had grown up seeing. They were soldiers, yes, but they looked human. A jeep stopped near her door. A captain stepped out, sharp-eyed, steady, calm. His men spread through the farmhouse, searching but not destroying, moving with a kind of respect she did not expect from conquerors. Helen stayed hidden in the barn, praying the shadows would hide her. But the soldiers found her anyway. A red-haired private stepped inside, startled but gentle, calling for his captain instead of raising his rifle. Captain Charles Whitmore entered with sunlight at his back. He studied Helen quietly, as if trying to understand the story written in her tired posture. He spoke softly, careful not to frighten her. He summoned a translator, Sergeant Klaus Schmidt, a German-American with a warm voice that made German sound strangely hopeful. Through him, the captain explained that the Americans would use the farmhouse as temporary headquarters. Helen was told she would help cook and manage supplies. It wasn't a request, but she understood. Feeding soldiers was the one skill the war had left her. She nodded, feeling both fear and an odd relief that someone finally needed her again. The Americans were different, loud but kind, messy but respectful. They fixed her roof, paid for food, brought fuel so she could heat water. Their chaos somehow warmed the house more than the stove ever had. Captain Whitmore watched her with quiet concern. She moved like a shadow, working without living, breathing without feeling. He could tell she'd lost so much that she no longer believed anything good could happen to her. One afternoon, Schmidt found her staring into nothing. "You need to talk," he said. Helen shook her head. "There is nothing left," she whispered. "My family is gone, my country is gone, and I am finished." Schmidt disagreed. "You are still here, and that means everything." Days passed, and the farmhouse slowly breathed again. The Americans repaired windows, cleared debris, and brought life back to rooms where silence had grown thick. Helen worked among them, still quiet, but no longer invisible. She noticed how the soldiers treated each other, like brothers. They teased, argued, laughed loudly, then shared rations as if they were gold. After years of fear and rigid obedience, this unfamiliar warmth felt almost unreal. Captain Whitmore was different from the other officers she had known during the war. He didn't bark commands, he listened. When he walked into a room, the men straightened, not from fear, but respect. The next morning, Helen found a small basket outside her door, coffee beans, chocolate, a piece of soap. Items she had not seen since 1941. A note read, "For your hard work, C.W." She touched it as if it might vanish. The men began treating her like a sister. They taught her card games, helped gather firewood, and joked as they worked. She rarely laughed, but she found herself smiling more than she expected. One cold evening, the generator failed. The house sank into darkness. Helen stumbled as she carried a lantern, and Captain Whitmore steadied her. For a moment, their hands stayed together, unexpected, warm, human. She pulled back quickly, heart racing. She didn't understand why a simple touch could shake her. The captain only nodded, as if he didn't want to frighten her. "You're safe," he said softly, and for the first time in years, she believed it. The next day, a snowstorm trapped the whole unit inside the farmhouse. The men gathered by the stove telling stories. Helen listened quietly from the corner. The captain noticed her, and with a small motion invited her to join them. Schmidt translated as the captain spoke about growing up on a farm in Indiana, about long winters, stubborn cows, and a mother who could silence any man with one raised eyebrow. The soldiers roared with laughter. Helen surprised herself by sharing a memory. Her brother Friedrich carving wooden animals for her when she was little. Her voice cracked, but the room stayed silent in respect. It felt healing. When the storm passed, Helen felt lighter. She found herself looking for the captain without realizing it. The way he listened, the way he carried pain behind his calm eyes, the way he looked at her, never as the enemy, always as a person. That evening she saw him outside, staring at the fields turning blue under the fading light. She approached carefully. He smiled, not with his mouth, but with his eyes, and gestured for her to stand beside him. For a while they said nothing. The war felt far away. The farmhouse behind them hummed with life. The fields breathed gently. Helen felt a quiet warmth spread through her chest, something she had forgotten existed. "Hard years," the captain said, his voice low. She nodded. "Too many." He looked at her with a softness that made her heart tremble. "But you're stronger than you think." She didn't reply, but her eyes filled with a hope she had buried long ago. Days blended softly into one another. Helen worked, the soldiers repaired equipment, and the captain moved through the house with calm authority. Every time their eyes met, something gentle passed between them, unspoken, fragile, but undeniable. One afternoon, while hanging linens to dry, Helen slipped on the icy ground. Before she hit the earth, strong arms caught her, the captain. Their faces were close enough for her to feel his breath, warm against the cold air. She thanked him, her voice barely above a whisper. He didn't let go immediately, not out of boldness but concern. "I won't let you fall," he said. She felt those words settle deep, deeper than she expected. Rumors began circulating among the soldiers, not cruel, not mocking, just knowing smiles and nudges. Helen blushed easily, and the captain's calm demeanor only fueled their quiet jokes. But no one crossed the line. Everyone saw the tenderness forming. One evening, Schmidt pulled Helen aside. "He looks at you differently," he teased. Helen's cheeks warmed. "He is kind," she said. "Kindness is rare these days." Schmidt nodded. "He sees your strength. Many don't." That night, as she carried blankets upstairs, she passed the captain in the hallway. They both paused, as if the air between them had changed. "Are you warm enough?" he asked. A simple question, yet her chest tightened. The farmhouse felt different now, lighter. The dark memories that once clung to the walls seemed weaker. Helen found herself humming while she worked, something she had not done since childhood. One morning she brought hot tea to the men repairing the jeep outside. The captain took his cup, brushing her fingers gently, almost intentionally. "You're a blessing in this cold," he said. The words stayed with her all day. But warmth in war is dangerous. That afternoon, a messenger arrived with new orders. The unit was to move within 48 hours. The news spread through the house like a sudden chill. Helen felt the ground shift beneath her. The captain avoided her that evening, not out of coldness but conflict. Duty pulled him one way. Something softer pulled him another. Helen sensed it, and the silence between them cut deeper than any words. Later that night, she found him alone in the barn, staring at an old lantern swinging in the draught. She approached slowly. "You're leaving," she said. He closed his eyes for a moment, as if the truth hurt to admit. Yes, he replied. Orders came today. Helen's throat tightened. She wasn't sure if she was allowed to feel this much. Not for a man she'd known only weeks. Not in a war that stole everything fragile. He turned toward her. I didn't expect... He paused, searching for a word large enough to carry what he felt. You, her breath caught. No one had spoken to her like that in years. Not with truth, not with wonder. The lantern light cast soft shadows on his face. He stepped closer, not commanding, not assuming, just hopeful. I wish we had more time, he whispered. Time to see what this could be. Time to heal. Helen felt tears rise, uninvited but honest. She looked at him the way she once looked at quiet sunsets before the war. Soft, trembling, full of longing. Come back, she whispered, not as an order, as a prayer.